Mic lock button is on. Double tap to lock.
Hello, folks. So we are going to talk about our book launch part 2, but this isn't a part 2 to the book launch. This is the books that we have made as Project X, explaining them in no particular order. But before I do that, as I said on the last video, the weekly vlogs are still withstanding. I've got some other videos that I'm doing for my other company, Ball and Mike and Hill Productions. And Mind Mob is still staying the same name as this channel because I don't want to change it. And there'll be a new channel coming soon. So I'm also going to finish this announcement real quick on the brand new documentary, which in the next couple of weeks we'll be we're doing some photos for the Syndicate Press pretend newspaper which I've got running, and there's a report on founded aliens or aliens gone missing, and you guessed it, E.T. appears on that. Now we're doing it as a little joke because every time we've done our underground research, E.T. keeps popping up, and it's always a laugh. It's always cracks me up. So without further ado, I'm going to mention these books, and you can find them on our website, our new website, our new fictional website, on the Project X website. You won't be able to find it on the Syndicate Press. However, they are advertised in the Syndicate Press, but they're all Project X titles. So number 12 is Finding Your... sorry, they're not in an order. They're not done in order, but Finding Yourself. And Finding Yourself is... I'll do it as a top 12, and then hopefully I can... I'll come back with another vid, another sort of, So yeah, number 12 is Finding Yourself. Now this book is not to be... It's not to be mixed up with like an actual book. It's like not finding yourself or anything. It's not about how to find yourself. It's not on a guide to you as yourself. It's basically an instruction book on how to think for yourself. So like a few of the books on this list, this book is basically a book on testing things out, as I spoke in the last video. Oh no, I've not put that one out yet. In the book launch part 1 video. Well, I want to put those out, part 1 and part 2, but I'm putting this out first. So but yeah, this is one of the books that has launched quite recently. So it's a new book. And yeah, it's Finding Yourself. It's a guide to you testing the world out from the very first chapter. So it's not like the Bible where it assumes where it assumes that you're not going to test anything out at all. This is like a self-explanatory instruction book. And it's like, if I told you that the world was built in 30 days, you might say, well, hold on a minute. Was it? Was it? It's like the coronavirus. We're not allowed to test it. We're not allowed to, test these things. And so these types of examples are going to come up quite a few times because this is not the only one on the list that does that. But it tells you things like instruction 1. If someone tells you to put your hand in the fire, Should you? it's a ludicrous thing, and it's very cliche. But it doesn't mean to say, like they use that saying, oh, if someone says put your hand in the fire, so on and so forth. But what that means is, if somebody says for you to do something, like, for instance, if somebody tells you to not look at a white bear, for instance, it's one of those. And that's another thing it says in the book, to not think about a white bear. It tells you, it's about stop thinking the way that people want you to think. Stop thinking the way the papers and the politicians and the big people think. It's actually a book on how to go your own way. And it's got some wonderful examples in it. And at number 11 is Project X's New Beginnings. So it's just a document on where Project X is, and unfortunately the Facebook page is the book. It's the update on the book, should I say, which is why there are some articles that you'll find that some of those articles are in the book. So it's just a collection of articles, but it's the book has some more in depth on the people, the journalists on those articles, and then there is some stuff about Dr. Hans Schmidt and an aeroplane that collided with a UFO. Again, whether you believe it or not is your own judgment. We're not telling you whether to believe it or not. Goodness grief, we're telling you how to be underground already. As some of these books are already in the mainstream, but we'll get to those. We'll get to those entries in a little bit. So, yeah. In fact, we'll start here at number 10. Number 10 is Confiding in Time. Now, this is the first book that talks about Mothma. And unfortunately, it's not one of his books, but it talks about things like Trumpets in the Sky, Voice of the Gods, Calling of the Bell. It's all based on it's all based on religious terms, and religion and politics kind of arguing with each other. But it's more on like somebody standing back from time and taking like a good view. It's like it's not from the writer's view. It's more from the view of the people that lived it. So yeah. At number 9 is The Templar's Quest. This again is another book that's in the mainstream. It's more about following orders and orders that have been put together, and how to shield certain orders and how to build your own order, and all that kind of thing. So it's kind of a really good book. It's more, again, another instruction book, but done in the way. Number 7 is The Phoenix Quest. Again, another mainstream book. It's about slave trades and concentration camps, and people carrying off and being sold to the people, and it's all based on abductions and all that kind of thing. But it's stuff that I'm not going to say it's not a mainstream book, but it's a book that the mainstream will be able to understand from the beginning. But it's more kind of it's title covered in swastikas and all that kind of thing. And the reason we recommend this book is because we keep getting asked about the underground all the time, and why is it safe being underground? And maybe this book will answer your question. Maybe if you kind of read everywhere, the best place is to start with that sort of stuff. So it's kind of about escapism and freedom and how to be free and how to live free and how to turn your back on orders so you can be free, and how you can be safe, how you can sort of turn your back on danger. It's not always a good thing to do, but maybe it's a history book, but it's more a history book come construction guide. And the reason I've put it in this list of books is because it's a difficult one to get. So yeah. And number 5 is Mothma's Journal. And we recommend this because it's one of the books of Mothma in a series of books of Mothma, but it's actually been republished with all the notes, with all the bells and whistles. So we say that you get this because this is all the findings. This is a book you've got to read from end to beginning instead of beginning to end. Because it goes from it's the last book in the series of Mothma, but this is the book you've got to read to understand where everything came from. And even better, it's in the public domain too. So yeah. At number 4 is Astral Halves, and Astral Halves is more about the external body, the astral body. But maybe if you're time traveling, some people wish to go through astral travel, or they wish to astral travel, or they wish to learn about the outer self or getting out of the body, because they believe that it's a good way of traveling through time or looking at time. Now, from what I've read about astral travel, the astral body, it can travel as fast as it, and like in one of the books of Mothma, it's explained about this, but the astral body can travel, or the spiritual body can travel at any speed, given at will. Which is why a few people have experimented with astral travel to experiment with spiritual laws. If you can travel at the speed of light, like the actual body, the physical body can't travel at the speed of light, but the spiritual body can travel any speed, and it's given spiritual law. So maybe this is a book you want to read to understand how to sort of look from the inside out or the outside in, whichever way you prefer. So that's a book. At number 3 is The Analyzer. Now, this is a book that's we're republishing, so it's our book, if you will. And this is about dreams. It's about dream interpretations. We're doing ones based on different dream journals, and it's more like a patchwork quilt, but it's done within different dreams, and it's about different people's dreams, and it's not just dreams, but it's psychedelic experiences and psychedelic happenings and visions that were brought to people. So it's kind of like revelation. It brings you sort of through the visions. You know, it's kind of, some of it's lovely and dreamy and nice and trippy, and some of it's a bit holds you by the edge of your seat. So it's more about analysing dreams than understanding them, if that gets you, you know, understanding a vision. I mean, visions and dreams don't always need to be understood. You can have a vision, and sometimes you follow the vision, and it's a bit like a Tommy knocker. It sort of follows you, takes you the wrong way, or takes you down the wrong path, because that's the way, you know, something is obviously it's misunderstood. So anyway, now the last two books on the list are both books of Mothma. Number 2 is The Confidency in Mothma, and then number 1 is Mothma and the Travelers of Time. Now, we've only found this one being Project X, and it's only just gone into the public domain, both these books. But both these books were sort of findings and happenings. And Mothma, if he thought on his feet enough, he could have been a Time Lord. He could have been a real Time Lord. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. He didn't want to do that. It was like he had other projects out there. But these two books are about when he found the time machine period. Sorry, one of the books is about where he found the time machine. The other is when he met Dr. Gray, and it was when him and Dr. Gray kind of, it was up to the point where Dr. Gray turned his back on him and stole a lot of money and things. But I think that book is they're both educational titles and more on sort of findings and happenings. They're both history books, but neither like history books you would find elsewhere. They're not sort of what you would get taught in school or anywhere, you know, because it's underground history. So it's about like UFOs and, well, we found this vehicle but we weren't sure, and like Dr. Gray, he got visited by alien beings in the desert, and he understood them, and he was nearly abducted once or twice, and there is a book of those abductions, but unfortunately it's been held for legal reasons. Anyway, by the way, Dr. Gray and Mothma are both imaginary people, and we'll do all the 12 books of Mothma in the top 12. That'll be our next top 12 or whatever that we do, because there are some great books of Mothma, and I'm going to script that video because I want to do it properly and explain them properly. But they're all the books of Mothma are in the public domain, every single book. Project X do not own the rights to them, and neither do the people that write them anymore. So that's why they're in the public domain. Anybody can do whatever they wish with them. There's even been films being made about them. We're doing our own interpretations of the documentaries that we're doing to try and make them more like history documentaries, so we can teach people what was there, or was it there? I think that's the whole thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I really hope you... I know I haven't mentioned some of the alien books, or the books on alien artifacts and all that kind of stuff, but this was a top 13, so really hope you've enjoyed that. And I'm doing the book signing part 2, where I kind of discuss more books and things that we've got going for us, and yes, part 1 and part 2. So have a great new year if you don't hear from me in the meantime. So yeah.
Mic trigger. Mic lock. Finish recording.